right. Welcome to another episode of Skunk View, the show where we dive into the biggest headlines from around the Caribbean and around the globe. I'm your host, Alpien, and as always, I got my two special guests in the studio with me. Yes, I hope everyone had a lovely weekend, you know. So, Sadie, how are you doing tonight, man?
I'm doing good. Can't complain.
Okay, how was your week?
Well, God bless me some more time for my lifespan. So I could say thanks, give thanks to the Most High, preserving me till this time, till the next time. It's all good. Can't complain.
Okay.
Hey.
Yes, and
Federation.
Glasses, how you doing, man?
Come on, greetings. It's good to be here again.
Definitely.
Yeah,
How was your week, man?
great.
Okay,
You know,
okay.
life in its abundance.
Yes, sorry about that. As you were saying, sir? I mean, Glasses, what you were saying, sir?
Yeah, man, we're great. Yeah, I have to greet the public. Yeah, Rastafari, His Majesty, the all-time Emperor Haile Selassie. I have to recognize him and give thanks for the week and whatever was the proceedings for the week. We give thanks for it and give thanks alike that we're here.
Definitely. So, we was talking in the background. You say you want to talk about, what you say you want to talk about? The West Indies, the Federation? Why did the Federation fail in the West Indies, right? Something like that, right?
Yes, I was alluding to that topic because I think Federation would have served us immensely, but it failed in its inception, earlier stages of it, and I'm wondering if it would be if now would be a good time to make a go at it again.
Yeah.
Okay, so that kind of thing, that was like in all the Caribbean islands, or that was just only basically in Jamaica?
Well, the Federation was a movement to consolidate the Caribbean and bring it together as one.
Right.
But when I read upon it and the reasons why it failed, because prior to what I heard before that caused it to fail, it was much more to it when I read upon it as to why it failed.
Okay. So was that like a criteria for all the West Indian islands to take part in it, or we're just basically talking about Jamaica?
No, well,
All Caribbean Islands.
All Caribbean islands.
yeah. The members consisted of Jamaica, Trinidad and Tobago, Barbados, Grenada, a couple of more islands. I think Antigua,
The Lesser Antilles and the
Yes,
Greater Antilles.
yeah,
All the
Lesser
Antilles.
Antilles.
Okay, so each island wasn't like overwhelmed with.
All island combined in one international
Yes,
bloc.
yeah, in one international group where they would cheer, advocate for certain things. But within, so what they were thinking about is creating a federal government for the confederation itself, and then you would have
A leader.
a provincial body. So the federation would consist of two bodies, the federal body and the provincial body, which the federal body would be overseen by the governor general.
Okay. Of each island. The governor general of each island.
I think he was the governor general of Jamaica.
What caused the problem? What made that implementary suggestion didn't happen? Because they have, everybody no agree. They have disagreement within the body. Because you have so many different islands, and then who's gonna be the one that leads the federation?
They weren't able to come to some amicable agreement because at the time it was Jamaica and Trinidad. They were the two powerhouses of the federation, and they had problems. Jamaica and Trinidad.
So
Trinidad and Tobago.
So who in Jamaica like implement this? Was it Michael Manley?
No.
Was it Thiago?
It was before those guys.
Before those guys. So
Got to be Bustamante.
Bustamante.
It was pretty much orchestrated by Jamaicans, but at the time it was Norman Washington Manley who was the premier, and Bustamante, he was the opposition at the time, and then you had a guy from I think Trinidad by the name of Eric Williams, right? But you know, from the outset, the embryonic stages of it, from the conception of it, they had problems.
Right.
And you had the federal government had a budget, and the provincial states had a budget. Okay. But it was funded, the federal government was funded by, you know, members of the UK and by Trinidad and Tobago and Jamaica, who funded 85% of the federal budget. So right there you had problems right there because the smaller states that consisted, you know, they didn't have too much money. So Jamaica and Trinidad had to be supplementing these states, and so you had problems there because then the smaller states felt like Jamaica and Trinidad would kind of bully them and overpower them. So even the capital of it, they had problems over where the capital should be.
Get out of here.
Yes, because it was initially it was supposed to be in Trinidad. Jamaica didn't sit well with Jamaica. So they had problems with that. So they came up with the idea that they would use a neutral state, which was Grenada, and even that didn't work. You know, so it was a number of problems.
So the main reason why it didn't work, everybody had their own self-interest.
They just had problems that they couldn't work out. So one of the problems was where to put the capital. Another problem was you had a provincial government, which consisted of, they had two parties, the WILP and the DLP, which was the West Indies Labour Party, which was headed by Norman Manley, and the DLP, which is the Democratic Labour Party, which was, you know, the head of it was Bustamante. So you know, it was, you know, in government and how these things work, you have to, it has to be thought out properly. And what what I couldn't understand is why the founding parties of the Federation didn't really look and see how even the United States, how they eventually put in place a government and that suited them, because it took time. Because in the United States, the first, you had 13 colonies. That time the state, everything takes time to grow. So they should have at least give the Federation a chance to take time and grow. And they didn't do that because in the United States, under the Articles of Confederation, that was when the government was weak and trying to find its way. You had 13 colonies at that time. And then they went back and rewrote the Constitution, into this new Constitution that we have now. But the people in the Federation didn't do anything like that. They just decided, well, look. And it was the reason why it didn't work too, I think there was a lot of ego going on there.
You could see presently today, you come to United States, and West Indies is in the United States. You find St. Lucia, St. Kitts, Grenada.
Yes, St. Lucia was a part of it too.
Barbados, Trinidad, and purism and schism. Who know who for leader, who know who.
Right.
Then again, you have the leaders that this is what I heard, because I was young then and I wasn't paying attention to political parties. But this is what I heard, that Bustamante, he was the one who says, because of the 85% that they have to give up, he was saying that the rest of Caribbean island, them too poor. Because remember now, them time the Jamaica till to sugar cane. And I don't know if they made in a backside, that much backside coming to Jamaica 1968. Yeah, that's when backside, them discover backside in Jamaica when Alcoa. So, but I think the Federation was
before
way
that.
back, before then.
Yes.
But Bustamante, he challenged, his talk was the rest of Ireland, they weren't putting enough cash.
But they didn't have it. They really didn't have it,
Therefore, if you don't have the amount of cash, you cannot implement, say you want to be the leader of the Federation, especially speaking to one island in particular. Not saying I'm trying to disrespect anybody nowadays, but he was referring to Barbados. Barbados at the time, they were acting according to people of those times that they were more British more than anybody else. They have a claim to the Great Britain more than any other else island. It should be them. So that's where they followed.
Because when I researched it, you had two anthems. You had two anthems, and you even had I think you had a federal anthem, and you had a British anthem. And when you listen to the anthem, when you listen to the I think it was called a loyal anthem. When you listen to it, it was all about the king, the king, the king. God save the king. God save the king. And you're talking about federation. You're talking about
the queen. You mean
no, the king. The king.
Which king? Who was the king of England?
I don't know, but that's what it was about. It wasn't the queen at the time. It was about the king. So because I listened to the anthem. But what I'm saying, the point I'm trying to make is, if you're talking about federation and uniting the West Indies, why is it? Well, the monarch was still the head of was still the head. So in a sense, it's like federation at the time. I don't think it really could have worked. I don't think so.
It could have worked. It's just that the people they worked together. They were in unison. Now this lady, what's her name? Mia Mottley. You know who is Mia Mottley? She is the present Prime Minister of Barbados now. And she talked about the same subject. And I've listened to her, and what she says makes sense. So, anything that is good, we know of it. The main thing is black people to come together because some need to get up in them ego, and some people from their own country, because you're this, you don't want to see the next man from the next. And it's even present nowadays, even in the United States. The man who feels because you're not from the same island, he tends to treat you different, have a different idea of how you should deal with him. And it's prevalent. Well, we all go through them things there.
I think even from back then, Norman Manley's, his take, he had a proposal. Well, between Norman Manley and Buster, the two different parties, they shared some similarities, but they also had some profound difference in terms of what they advocated for. Because I think Norman Manley wanted to, I think it was an idea that was put forward that British Guyana and British Honduras, they would draft them in it at a certain point, and Bustamante didn't support that. He didn't support that idea.
Who was the Prime Minister then? Charles Burnham in Guyana. He was the Guyanese Prime Minister then. Because I heard that name came up in the
I don't remember who was. I'm not sure who was the Prime Minister at that time.
Because there was a debacle about the same thing. Federation. There was a debacle back then.
They had a lot of problems because even tariffs and customs and things of that nature, it wasn't worked out, and even freedom of movement between the territories, that wasn't also worked out, because what happened is that Jamaica and Trinidad and Tobago felt like if you had free movements between, they would find an influx of other small islands flowing into Trinidad and Tobago and Jamaica, and they were scared of that. While the smaller states, they were also scared of being manipulated, in terms of power and stuff like that. But again, I refer to the United States. I see all the time we're heavily influenced by things that we do as in the Caribbean. But certain things that we're really supposed to look and adopt, we don't do that, because even in the United States at one point, you had something called there's like a compromise where the smaller states, and eventually they worked out some kind of a plan to appease and to make the smaller states feel good, with the House of Representatives and the Senate and stuff like that. But again, we just didn't look and see where we could learn from them and utilize some of, what they implemented in our structural system. We just didn't do that. So, and another thing that I'm thinking is that at the time when Federation was proposed, I'm not sure if the general public, if they were educated enough to understand the inner workings of it and gave their full support. I think it was just the people who crafted it that was aware of what was going on. But I don't think the general public understood in those times.
In those times, people relax and let the leaders do their work. They rarely oppose the leader. By the time them people vote on the leader, I know whoever, that's people sit back and let politicians do what they want to. You see, so are the leaders them.
So basically, each island had his own ideas.
Well, they never get
They had their.
they never get to agree. Everybody never get to agree and be in one court. So that's what caused what's happening now. Because if it was carried out then, this, I mean, you know, the Caribbean would have a seat at the United Nations. Normally, no, you don't have a seat, you have a say in what's going on around the world.
Well, what is ironic about the whole thing is that the reason why Federation was, was thought about and the benefits of it that it could have reaped. It's funny how we couldn't see the benefits would outweigh the differences that we had, because it failed because we couldn't agree, and that shouldn't be the case. And you understand, we're trying to consolidate our resource and and all that kind of stuff, but we weren't able to do that, and that is the main reason why it should have been, in order to get people, the Caribbean, coming together as one block, being stronger with, serve, economically, culturally, and otherwise.
People are different from our generation of now. You say we, but remember, we were there. It was they, them that were before us. Them, they, the so-called leaders. They didn't have a vision. They didn't see what me and you are now seeing. So I wouldn't say we, because we have nothing to do with it. Because it happened back then. How old were you? I was just about, not even start going primary school when this happened. And I guess you probably was in primary school at the time. You didn't even have a vote then. So, where me and you just had discovered now is where the leaders before us, where were their heads? They didn't have no vision. They didn't see this coming. But then again, you gotta remember where we're coming from. You're not coming from colonialism. One thing them try do from early, make sure these people don't have unity. So they split up, give this in French, them give English, and then give you Spanish. Make sure keep them apart. Don't let them unite.
Another thing that I think maybe probably added to the problems with Federation is that I don't know the dates of independence for the Caribbean islands, but I know Jamaica, I think, got their independence in what, 1966?
No, 1962.
1962. So, right, 1962. But even independence, it's not. Federation didn't lack intellectual ability. We had brilliant men in the Caribbean from then. Norman Manley was an emissary of excellence, and you had Burnham, you had Eric Williams, you had men all over the Caribbean, brilliant men. It wasn't lack of intellectual ability. It was lack. It was ego. Ego was the main thing behind it. You understand me? And selfishness to a certain point. Because whatever the smaller islands lacked, the Federation could have gained from it. Because even if the Federation could have used the opportunity to use the rights to develop those smaller islands. And if they, so it wasn't properly thought out. It's just like independence. Independence wasn't properly thought out. In my estimation, independence should never have occurred. I think it was one of the most colossal, catastrophic mistakes that we've made.
Never occurred.
It should, in my opinion, it should never have happened, because there is no way that coming from where we're coming from, we could ever be independent. And so when we made the move, it was one born out of ego. We could have advocated for self-autonomy, which is self-rule, but not for complete independence. Because when we did that, what we did, we waived the rights of the colonialistic powers to care for us, and they should have been held accountable for certain services that they should provide us with perpetually. So when we say we're independent, there's no way we could ever become independent as a country that needed technical support, needed, you know, defense, needed protection and all that kind of stuff. And even now, the independence that we say we have is only in a quasi, in a form. It's not accurate and authentic form of
I think what you're saying, independence is not good. But I think you're looking at independence one way than the way I look at it. I mean, yes, independence is good, because then, but the thing is the monetary move after independence. I would think the monetary move, 1968, when they implement the dollars and cents in Jamaica. That is the devastating move that make. We wasn't ready for that yet. We wasn't ready for that. Because then, look at the English pound now. Look at the other islands where the pound is. Look at the pound. The pound is still one of the biggest money on the block. You take away that and give us something else. We keep devaluing every day. And you notice from that happened, I remember the first inflation was in the 70s, 1973, 74, when the first inflation in Jamaica. And it'll get better from then. So the disagreement with the change in the pound at the dollar. I mean, remember when the dollar was very big too. But then after a while it started to devalue. Till it might make no sense. I look at the pound now. You remember? Could you remember them days? Nah, you no answer.
So I was just using independence as a reference to a federation where sometimes we go ahead and do things. Not all intentions are probably good, but not all intentions work out to the greater good at all times. So when I say independence was not a carefully thought out process, and we should not have even thought about it, was because, number one, we were taken, all four parents were taken away from, you know, our motherland and brought to an island and had to fight a revolution in order to get certain form of freedom. And so so in that case, if you have someone who has severed you from your mother's bosom, taken away your culture, your language, and put into you something else, you could never ultimately be independent, because then you don't have your original culture, you don't have your original language, and that's going to mess with the way you think and the way you perform. It's going to affect your every aspect of your being. And then on an economic level, you think about roads, you think about hospital, you think about education. Where are you going to get that resource to facilitate all of these areas? Now, the powers that be at the time, colonialistic power, which I think were responsible for Jamaica and the rest of the Caribbean, was Spain, Britain, the United Kingdom, and Italy. And we should never have let them off the hook by asking for independence. We should hold them responsible to fund whatever services we needed. We shouldn't say, well, we could ask for self-rule, self-autonomy, but not to let them off the hook. We waived our rights, and that is why we're at the point that we're at right now.
No, but you can't say so, man. You wasn't living then when it happened. You didn't go through, you didn't walk the walk with them people, walk the time there, bro. You would never feel a whip over your back. You never feel their prejudices, because by the time you grow up, you don't see it. But you know, guess what? It takes two to tango. You take independent on one side, and two sides agree if you make that happen. So guess what? Unlike what you see, they saw the danger why they have to get up and pack them shit and leave. Because they know the next generation is coming at them. Why you think Bob Marley sing burning and looting tonight? Because people them back against the wall, they can't take it no more. So they see the sign, them pack up and go and give them independence, because them see them can't control the people them. So I don't know what good could come out of it, knowing that you grew up and in a place and people are treat you. Come on, man. Man, when they say a slave we can't fight for him freedom, no deserve nobody to fight for him at all. Well, I same thing with people. If you don't decide to fight for your independence and strive for independence, you don't deserve it. Because ain't no black man will fit from Sam Sharp come straight up. All of them freedom fighters, they know what they were fighting against. So I would never reach this where I want to turn back now and say then time was better. You know, you don't really say it, but
there is no Jamaica and the West Indies. We have no form of independence, because we see what happened in Grenada a couple of years ago, some years ago, when Bishop was there and they sent in airplanes and crisscrossed the island in maybe about 4 seconds. So if Jamaica, when we talk about independence, what independence means is your sovereignty, being able to maintain that sovereignty where no one can overrun you and say, well, you know, because we have the power, we can do this. And that is what independence is all about. If another territory or another state can come in and tell you what to do and use diplomatic means and ploys to tie your hands behind your back, then you have no independence. And what I'm saying to the public, we should never have asked for complete or comprehensive independence. What we should have asked for is self-rule, self-autonomy. We're going to rule ourselves, but you are responsible perpetually. We're not going to let you off the hook and say, well, you're no longer responsible for the growth of our economy, for protecting us. We should always be, a protectorate state, where, if anything, if we need military protection, you are responsible for us. If we need resources to develop our medical facilities or roads, you are responsible because we did not ask to come here. You are the one who took it on yourself to bring us here and to enrich yourself off of us. So in truth and in fact, you have used us to enrich and to bolster your economy. So you should be responsible for us to a certain degree. As we grow, you still should be responsible. You should be held accountable for that.
Let me ask you this. Who you think you're dictating to? Will you say no? What you are saying no, because you could say no, because no one back then is different. But you think you have to dictate what you want?
So the people who advocated for independence, they weren't aware of these things. They thought, well, yes, it's okay, we can ask for it, and it was more out of an emotional euphoria. To say, yes, we beat our chest and say, yes, we can beat our chest and say, yes, we're independent, and that kind of ego. It was one born more but in reality, we have never really experienced any independence because we still have a Governor General in Jamaica, and we still have to go to the Privy Council. So, in actuality, we still aren't independent. And we see even when past leaders have tried to implement comprehensive social reforms to better Jamaica, how other powers have come in and undermined his efforts and tore him down completely and set Jamaica on the trajectory that it's on now. So, we really, when we sit down to formulate policies and plans, we really have to think it out properly. And I don't think the people at that time in the Federation and even for the independence of Jamaica, they thought it out properly.
They never look down the road and see these things.
No, they never saw it.
So you see, at the crosses, them when we take up all of the crosses, them. The democracy and all of the crosses, the ism and the schism, them left the way. Now you have to cut through and navigate through all of those crosses. And then this is where you work upon all these things, what you are saying. Because is it good or is it bad?
What I'm saying is, if we look at, each time we have to go back and look at the United States as, look at it as a model. We have to use it as a model because after they fought their revolution, I think in the 1700s, and got their independence, they decided that we want to be a sovereign country. We are not going to take any orders from anybody else. And so they penned their constitution, and they put in their own form of government, which is totally different from any Westminster government. Jamaica, we still have a Westminster government. We still don't even have a organic form of government for ourselves. So how can we say we're independent when the form of government that we're using to govern our people is a Westminster government? You understand what I'm saying, Alpine?
Yeah.
Come on, definitely.
You're saying is real, but then again. You have no time. You never get to dictate what you want. This section. You know who we are. We don't get to dictate where we want. You have to take where you want when you can. And lucky if you live to tell about it. So no, nothing ain't gonna be given to you. You have to can't take it. You know, so that's how we feel battle to fight. Because we still have fight this struggle the same way. So, and like I said, them what they are did see is if they continue down the same road with them going down, it's gonna be dread. And then most of them will pack them back and left because the population outgrow them. And then not too much that them favor, so you have to give the people what they want. So you give them, but then release the chain and I use them brain, which is what they did. Because they see what was gonna come. Because the burning and the looting was gonna be happening. It was very, very close. And them smell coffee and them wake up and say, you know, I make we ease out. I make them control the place. That's what they did. And them safe and far. Them safe and far and pull the levers of power. Because them put in place them puppet. So they are gepitos. You know what I'm saying? Put them puppet in place under them crosses. You know what I mean? So that I go on, brother. But you know, it soon come to an end. But remember, you know, we are the same people them all over anywhere in the world where you go. No peace. You're not gonna see nothing change. God, them have your own kind of fight against, you know, because for some reason, them can blindfold some people and make them talk what they want to talk. Them put battery in them back. You know, that one. That's what they using. Them battery the back, black man back and send them out to go talk. Where them want him to talk. Them write the script to him and talk where him want to talk. All of them come now, come now. And Colin Powell come straight down to Barack Obama. Coming straight up.
Well, one thing we can say is that Federation didn't fail on the grounds of outside influences. It failed primarily, and we had an implosion where it fell apart. It fell in on itself because we weren't able to come together and iron out our differences and you know, say, well, we could come to some amicable agreement or come to some common ground and say, well, if we're advocating for the best interests of the Caribbean, then you give a little and I take a little and we give and take. But at best, we're going to still, at the end of the day, we're going to be consolidated as a group, and the benefits that we could garner from this consolidated, confederation, we would benefit from it exponentially across the board. But again, Jamaica and Trinidad were the two main protagonists of the failure of the Confederation. They were just thinking about themselves, whereas the Federation was supposed to be about the Caribbean, because you must always remember that if you see a piece of place, somewhere and it's bushy and whatever, sooner or later somebody's going to come and buy that and clean it up and maybe put a building there or something like that. So the Federation could have benefited from the fact, even though the smaller states weren't able to contribute economically. Now, they should have used the opportunity to help to grow their economy and to help them develop. And so it would be a win-win situation. But again, there was this ego going on between Norman Manley and Bustamante, and even the Trinidadians too.
You have many other differences. You have island like, where's Grand Cape? Is Grand Cape on a part of the Caribbean?
Yeah.
Grand Cape.
Yeah.
Is Bahamas a part of the Caribbean?
Well, they have over 700 islands in the Caribbean, you know.
Bahamas are part of the Caribbean. Yes.
Well, they were thinking about pulling in Bahamas after a while too.
So let me say now. Grand Cayman, Bahamas, Anguilla, those islands are definitely dominant. Either they are British, all the way, they don't get no independence. They still are British. So that's I want to factor to again, because all of the islands. British now let go where them have and them be going on federation. If you be going federation mean it's all the islands.
Not necessarily. Not necessarily.
Woman knows Cayman.
Not necessarily. What they started out with, they could have started out with that. Because apart from Cuba, which is the largest island apart from Cuba, which is the largest island in the Caribbean, Jamaica and Trinidad and Tobago, Barbados, and the other smaller states, they could have started with that, and as times go by,
Antigua, St. Vincent, St. Lucia,
draft them, you know, bring them into it, you know, little by little, bring them into it. But if you can't get off the ground, then you can't get nothing going, you know. So first and foremost, they weren't able to get off the ground. So it's like a woman giving a stillbirth, you know. But what I'm curious to know is if the Caribbean, if they are thinking about that, because we have CXC, which is in itself is some form of federation, and they have a Caribbean. They're thinking about a Caribbean court, I think it is, you know, where we can try our own cases in the Caribbean. That's a form of federation. So why not just go all the way and go, you know, revisit, you know, the birthplace of federation and see where that can go. You know, we have the West Indies cricket, you know, cricket board, where you have, you know, West Indies cricket. That's a form of federation also. So why not just make it into one concentrated block with one currency, one formal, you know, law system that works, an educational system, and see how that works.
Did you know that Jamaica, of the penal system in the Caribbean, where other Caribbean islands, criminal them at Jamaica, them do them time, like such as people from Grand Cayman and some other small island. So if should in case, if they are doing that, then federation would be a good thing, because then they might certain island have penal system. And Jamaica, them send people from Grand Cayman. Jamaica, them send them a prison. I don't know if you ever know that, but I'm not lying. Yeah.
Well, I don't know what the benefits Jamaica must be benefiting from that, because I don't know why they would do that. You know. But Cayman's economy is vibrant and your dollar is strong, so I don't know why, you know, how that works, but you know.
That criminalist community, criminals are everywhere.
And I don't know why we would take in another person's, you know, undesirables
Because you get paid to do it.
You know,
You get paid to do it.
to me that doesn't make any sense.
Well, that's what happened.
You know,
If this man after you
Because-
say, well, then you send some people and you feed them and clothe them, that means they sending that money. Because when you send that person to go do him time, that means you have to feed that person. Wherever you're from, the money have to come from right behind. So that's what I call it.
but from what I hear is that the crime rate in Cayman is very low.
Yeah.
And that is what we should take from them, not take their undesirables. What we should do is try to work to get our system up to par and get our economy up to par with them instead of taking their garbage because we're getting paid. That is. I don't think that is very smart of
That's
us.
a penal system. That's a penal system.
I don't think that's very smart of
The
us.
people that are coming in the population, they must spend their time in a prison at Jamaica. The prison at Jamaica, General Penitentiary, or whatever, wherever they're doing the correctional facility, that's where they're going. That's where they stay until they do their time and send back where they come from. And the government get paid for that. So, hey, they make their money. But it's how much people coming from there? How much people coming from there doing time? There. From there.
Like I said, to me, we're always taking a page out of other people's book. But what best suits us, we're not taking those pages.
We have
And,
to seek
you
the
know,
justice minister, the minister of justice. He's the one that initiate him under that ministry to things happen. So
because the failure of the Federation in the West Indies, you're talking about one side wanting to advocate for democratic socialism, another side is saying, well, no, we don't want to do that. But what you're offering, is it better than democratic socialism? Or you're just trying to put your idea forward and saying, well, this is what I want, rather than what best serves the masses of the people. Always it's supposed to be what the masses of the people is going to benefit from, not what you think that you like or, you know. So, you know, Federation fell through, but in this age and time, with the form of technology that's out there, with the internet and social media, and I imagine you have a greater percentage of the people being literate, because I think at the time, one of the reasons why it failed, because I think Norman Manley had said, well, we're going to vote on it, if the people wants to go along with it, because I think he was kind of weak in letting Bustamante kind of ask him to have the people vote on it, because Bustamante had already, you know, embedded in the mind of the people, you know, that so, you know, he had already, Bustamante was a slickster, street smart, and I think he, you know, Norman he outwitted him, because he told him, he said, well, put it towards the people. But Bustamante already told the people, look, you know, Jamaica is going to have to supplement these small countries, and we don't want to do that. So you're right. So they say, let's vote in a referendum, and the people voted against Manley. which he shouldn't have done at the time because he was the premier and Buster was the opposition.
Power
So,
cannot be shared,
he should never have done that.
Power can't be
You know,
shared. Power
he shouldn't
cannot
have.
be shared.
So I think he was weak. He was a weak leader in that aspect of
On the
his
same
leadership
week,
skills.
I know weak. It was weak. The thing is this: power cannot be shared. No man get a taste of the power. No one let it go. So him put when supposed to put in the game for him stay in the power. So him indoctrinate the people them to vote against what this man has said because him already win this man, him beat this man already and come back again. He ain't giving up. So, he did what he did to stay in power. He knows Federation was good. But him still was the one who had him ego against the other people, saying they're poor. And, come on. You're not seeing? Wow. Jamaica was the gem in the West Indies at the time.
Well,
sugar was on top, sugar was sweet. Sugar was sweet at times.
Well, Trinidad contributed to the falling apart of the Federation because Eric Williams, he didn't contest the federal elections, and Norman didn't contest it either. So outrightly, it showed that neither one of them they were saying one thing, but when it came to doing what was necessary, they never did that because they never contested. They were pretty much,
into themselves.
They were comfortable with the provincial powers that they wielded in the territories, rather than conceding power to the federal government.
Yes.
And that's why I say they did not look at how, again, we have to use the United States as a model, because it was the same, it's pretty much the same setup where you had people running from wherever coming to the United States to start a new life and whatever. It's the same thing with us as our foreparents coming to Jamaica and the West Indies involuntarily. They were forced to come there. But now here they're trying to set up their own government and trying to carve out a future for themselves. And to me, honestly, I think the way the United States went about it, they did a pretty good job. It's just that they only did it for themselves, whereas for other people coming in, they excluded certain people and they had just a certain racial group that they think was qualified to be part of the system. But if the founding fathers of Federation had looked at the model of the United States, they probably would have been able to work out some of their differences. Because all of the differences and the difficulties that the players of the Federation had were similar to the United States. Because the United States has a federal government and they have a state. They have states with individual laws. And people who run the state and people who run the federal government. So I think at this point in time, it's been a good time to, even with what's going on in Africa, your favorite country there. We're Burkina Faso.
Every day is something new. Then you remember last week we were going home and we telling you the domino them falling one by one. Guess what happened? Cote d'Ivoire and Togo. So guess what? Look, the earthquake is spreading. It takes time. It takes time, but every week, as it go along, every week.
Likewise, that should have been the same effect with federation.
Yeah.
You know.
Well, now this lady, we have high hopes in her beliefs. But there's one, they have to get to that one man first. Yo, they want to get to that, move the man who don't listen, you know. The one that's sitting down, you know, he must get out because he ain't doing nothing. He's a clown. He's just sitting there on one bench, you know. He looking for some money to land him thief. Because it's a den of thieves in Parliament. Parliament is a den of thieves, if you understand what I mean. The Jamaican Parliament is a den of thieves. And it's getting rotten and rotten every day. They stink. You see what they did to Usain Bolt? He a Jamaican Pineda. They beat the dollars out of that man, boy. Oh God, boy, they take that boy for your Pineda, boy. Oh
Well,
God.
I see they made a move to give him a ambassador of Jamaica. I mean, it's a good move, but I'm wondering if that's the kind of to kind of comfort him.
Ambassador for where? For what? In what fields?
For Jamaica. It's a good move. It's a good move. It's a good move. But like I said, I'm wondering if it's one, you know, if it's genuine, or is it because they did what they did to him and they're trying to compensate.
Which country is going?
You know,
where is he going to go?
compensate him for his loss, or you know, try to comfort, you know, to kind of soothe his wounds. So, you know,
where is he going to be an ambassador?
I think he's qualified because he's represented Jamaica outstandingly.
You're not answering. You're not answering.
You know, he could generate tourism and stuff like that. So I think it's a good move.
No. You got to answer me first. You're not answering. You say ambassador. You know that's a big position. Ambassador to where?
So an ambassador is someone who represents the country
in a foreign land.
Or in foreign countries.
So which foreign land am I saying?
You know, Hussein has been around the world, and he's represented Jamaica. He's been an ambassador in his own right. So giving him the title is just making it, I would say, maybe a little more official. So when I'm putting a point across, it's really to the public as I'm going into the public. It's not one of it's more a general statement. It's not to any one particular person. So if people outside, listening to the program, they could call in and give their thoughts and, the views. It's not my views it's not just between Sad and I, it's really for the public.
Yes, so, and then being an ambassador is not an easy job. That is if that person wants that job, number one.
Well, if he didn't want it, he wouldn't have accepted it, and he's accepted it, so obviously he wants it.
All right, so I'm asking you now, if he accepted it, then the facts should be there. I'm just hearing about it now, so I would like to know which country is he assigned to as a Jamaican ambassador? Is it France? Is it Africa? Is it Burkina Faso? Is it South Africa? Where?
Well, the information...
No problem. If they name you as ambassador, you should know it.
I'm not sure how, the inner workings of it as to what they plan, but like I said, he's been given that portfolio as ambassador.
I know Anthony Spalding is the ambassador to Ghana.
So, let's hope, and I'm pretty sure he'll do a good job. I think he'll do a good job. So I want to commend Usain Bolt on that latest development. But like I said, I hope it's one born out of, care and not to appease what has happened to him in his loss, and I don't know if he's recovered or recouped his loss or whatever, but I know he's a very astute person, so, and very humble, so irrespective of what has been done to him, I know he's going to represent Jamaica in the fullest capacity and try to do what is in the best interest of Jamaica. Yeah.
I know he went to Burkina. He had a conversation with Abraham Traore. I was wondering if that's where he's going to be an ambassador, because I know that man gets several. They caught the attention of several celebrities, not just Ibrahim, but some American people too. But no doubt he would be a good ambassador in Africa, somewhere in Africa. I mean, because then there he would be respected that much. But where else? One day somebody called my phone and I asked the Jamaican guy, he says he's in Australia. I said, man, what are you doing down there? He's been down there for 2 years now. I'm saying, how is it down there? He said, well, I'm a Jamaican, we can't live anywhere. I said, okay. But it's not easy living at them people country, bro.
So Usain Bolt is a global tourism ambassador for Jamaica.
Okay.
So it's not.
Assigned to not one country. It's a global figure.
So
okay.
He was appointed to this role to promote Jamaica's tourism and showcase its cultural heritage to a global audience.
Okay. Right. When we take him money to a bill of the South Coast and spread the whole thing around the whole of Jamaica. Because North Coast is one thing, but there's a South Coast too. And the South Coast is very beautiful. It's just that a lot of people don't go on that side because it was not promoted. And if you're not from that side, you're not going to know about it. Only thing the South Coast is the sand, the beach, ain't like the North Coast. The North Coast give you the white sand. When you go on the South Coast, it's a darker, greater sand.
Okay.
So it's like the sand is darker. But you want to see a crystal clear water? Go on the South Coast, boy. And you could see, you know what they call manatee. You know what's a manatee?
Yeah.
What them call a manatee?
It's a sea creature.
It's a mammal.
Yeah, it's a mammal.
Them call it sea cow.
Yeah.
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 Them call it sea cow.
So we have manatees in Jamaica?
Yeah, sea cow.
I didn't know that.
One is, you hear about Milk River? One was always in Milk River on display.
Oh.
Yeah, one is always there, and he had his own little dwelling, and one of my friends was the keeper.
They brought him there or he came there?
No,
Or...
man. Them did it so. It's their habitat. It's their habitat.
No, he said one was always there.
One was always there. They have that one in there, but I mean, he's free, but he's caged in.
Oh, okay.
But he's not the only one present in that region. They always be on the south coast. Because of the crystal clear water, and you know, the river, the fresh water comes from the north. The fresh water comes from the north and go to the sea. And that's where they stay. They like this fresh water.
Oh, okay.
Anything of that you're talking about? No.
Yeah, man, so while we were talking, I just look at what they, I just Googled it, and it says, Hussein is a global, ambassador for tourism and culture. And that's good, Unlike some people that I see, from Jamaica who wants to be ambassadors. They want to influence, and they are influencing people to a certain degree, but they even want to take it beyond that and influence, given the permission to go inside of our institutions of learning to influence our most, most vulnerable and most prized assets, which are our children. And when they're opposed, then they get all bent out of shape. Yeah. and they start quoting the Bible and saying how much they know the Bible. But at the same time, when you're on stage, the kind of rhetoric that you're spewing out it would poison a cesspool. So you can't serve two masters at the same time. If you're gonna be yes, if you're gonna be ambassador for Jamaica, I think Jimmy Cliff. I think he was the first, I'm not sure, the first cultural ambassador.
Yes,
or I think he
he's
was
one of them down in Africa,
and so when we see people like that, we have to really respect them and lift our hats to them. Whereas on the other hand, in contrast to people like those, we've seen people come along and trying to.
And you know what? His genetics is very popular. There's a lot of people in Africa who look like him. A lot of individuals, you notice some young youth them look just like Jimmy Cliff. And I don't know why Ghana people, you find people from Ghana looking like him, not one or two. When you notice, they just have that genetics. They have the same genetics like Jimmy Cliff.
Most of our ancestors in Jamaica came from Ghana. Most of our ancestors came from Ghana.
Not one or two times you notice why they look like that. But like you said, the Caucasian, they always say all black men look alike. Well,
that is so far from the truth. That is so far from the truth. And that's just a total.
But
I don't know why they
different sight in their
I don't
eyes.
even know why they say that, because
They have different eyesight. That's in their eye.
because I know I look totally different from Al.
Yeah.
And I look totally different from you.
Well, when they see you, they say, see one of them there.
No,
Just like in general.
that's because their motive is that's because they share
the same genetics.
the same motive. The reason why
the people they share the same motive.
Yeah, the reason why
they won't see it like that.
Yes, because they share.
So you can't blame them.
They share a similar motive.
Yeah.
It's not because in actuality we all look the same. No. As a matter of fact, we are the most diverse set of people in terms of looks.
But if you notice, you have some who look like black too. Them the only white, but you have him twin, him black twin. You never notice that? You never see a white man who look like a black man, you know. You never see that yet?
Well, to say that we all look alike, I pretty
as
much,
human
I pretty much
beings,
could say
as
the same
human
thing, but
beings.
then again, like I said, it's all from a different, it's just because they share, an ulterior motive, why they say that. But I don't want to dwell too much on that. Yeah.
But the other day, this white, this South African president visited the White House. I noticed the man sit down like a 5-year-old kid in the White House, and then this man tell him something about film country. No, if me go somewhere and somebody I tell me something about Jamaica, you better come make sure it good. But I'm not gonna sit there and make you tell me I'm gonna defend the place where me just a come from. But I see this man sit down like this and the man don't say nothing.
Well, maybe he just doesn't know, and
What
it's
you
not.
mean,
It's not.
You want to come to me and say, is a president for your country, and somebody out of your country says genocide down there. Genocide that happened down there, big thing out. What's going on down there is a genocide. Oh, genocide, no. What about the apartheid genocide that was happening? All of that. You don't hear nothing about that. But all of a sudden, you're trying to legitimize your notion, saying all these things happening when it's not. And this man sits down like a child, so meek and mild, like he can't answer. So I that the youth them stand up down there Africa, I really know. I said no. The other day I asked you if you know who is Julius Malema.
Not familiar with the name. You're about Julius Nyerere.
He was from Tanzania.
Tanzania?
Yeah, Julius Nyerere. He came to Jamaica when I was a kid. Come see Michael. Julius Malema. He's the one who Donald Trump put out a hit on him. So he want to hit Traore and he want to hit Malema because the man, when the man attack, they don't hold back. Them don't hold back nothing. Would I like you to listen to him? And you have one name, DJ Wakali. Yeah, man. The man they talk, man. The man they not hold back nothing. But one thing we can say for sure, the rate of what's going on down there now, I think they're ready for it. Because the thing has spread like cancer. One by one, the troops are falling in line. And them smell it. So now we see the artifacts that was taken from Africa. What are they doing in England and France and Germany? The African government demand to bring back these things. They were stolen. So they have so much issue. The West have so much issue for them to be behaving like this. And a lot of other countries not with them. You know that?
Like I always say, you know, if they don't see the need to come together, you know, it's to their demise. And if they want to keep being puppets of the West, then that's up to them. You know, it's a long time in coming, and still I'm not gonna. I'm not gonna toot my horn because, like I said, it's 54 countries, and I don't know what percentage of them have come together so far. So until they reach the halfway mark, before I start, you know, feeling any kind of good feeling.
Well, I understand what you have said, but according to what I'm seeing now, is the younger generation, the younger youths, the youths between 30 and 25, and between 30 and 18. Those are the youths. We're getting up against those. You know what they're getting after? The leaders. They know. The youth them know now. The youth them know the ones them when I deliver, and the youth them not go feed. So soon and very soon, that new thing I go happen, you know? Yeah. God, them old people they have to go. We're the one from Nigeria, Tinubu. Oh, wow. That's where the corruption, them say Nigeria is the most populous country in Africa. But that's where the corruption is deep.
Again, in Asadi, Africa, you know, we can say, well, yes, yeah, they're doing this and then do that. The guy from Burkina Faso, you know, so far he's been lucky, he's been blessed to be still alive. But what most I'm concerned about is if they were to be successful in getting to him, is there anyone there that can fill his shoe? That is an important question that looms, because we see too often when there is an effort being made by an individual to help our people, whenever time they take him out, the movement just goes under. There's not enough people who are ready to pick up the mantle, pick it up, and even take it to another level.
You hear what he said?
And that's what we have to do now.
You hear what he said? You heard what he said? If you're trying to understand what I'm saying, have you heard what he said? No. He said, you stop me, but after me there will be many more coming. Look, my brother, me and you, we might not live to see it. That is the question. Are we going to live to see it? But trust me, it is going to happen. Well, me and you may not live to see it. Maybe your daughter or your grandson, or your son or your grandson will live to see it. But it's a maybe now, if you put it like that. But like he said, there are many, many more coming. So you can kill a man, but you cannot kill a dream, bro. That's not something where them can kill. So they know.
We can say that and we can say that as much. But take, for instance, what we see took place in the United States during the Civil Rights Movement, and even what Marcus Garvey was able to achieve. We haven't seen anything nowhere near in comparison to those movements. We see people now being very passive, and we haven't seen that kind of fire. We haven't seen that kind of fire.
I see Marcus' dream come alive. I see Marcus' dream. I don't look, you know what's a dream? I don't see Martin Luther dream. I see Marcus' dream. You know, Marcus' dream was different from Martin's dream. Marcus was an ideology. It was ideological. But Martin was a dream. So which one is more significant right now? I could say that yes, no matter what, Marcus already let go something and it's still going on. 7 miles of Black Star Line now. It won't be Black Star Line, it will be something else. Yeah, but that come right through the Caribbean. Very soon, that's what's going to happen. Very, very soon, people not coming here so no more in Babylon. They go and take the plane and head down at the motherland. That's what we see. When 2 planes are there, left out to the motherland. One in the morning and one in the evening. So which one I plane I go over? The morning one or the evening one? In glasses.
I'm a universal man, so wherever I live is where I don't really consider any.
So you say, if you get the chance to go down, so you wouldn't go?
Not just, you can, chances, yes, chances that, but it takes more than that too.
I understand.
It takes more than that because you have a resource.
I understand. I'm sorry to talk about when I'm a brethren.
You have a resource.
When I'm a brethren, when I'm an elder brethren. He went down there. That was before, it was sometime last year, before I know. But he went to Ethiopia. When he went down there, something happened and he started to holler back and letting course people know that everything wasn't as kosher as he was told, Well, I say, you're African, you're supposed to carry it out. You don't want to hear that? I would say if you can't come and live out Babylon, you can't live out that.
Exactly, because see what a lot of people, I'm getting some feedback from some people who went to Ghana and went to certain parts of Africa, and they feel like they were given the cold shoulder and things like that. And I understand exactly what they, I try to understand what they're feeling. But at the same time, if I was to go to the motherland, I'm not going there to be accepted by the people who are there. I'm going there to reconnect with my spirit.
Yeah.
So I'm not looking for a guy to come and say, well, brother, if you embrace me, great, but if you don't, like you said, we live out in a Babylon for so many years.
You can't do
so that piece of cake, if me go down there and a guy don't want to accept me go in there for reconnect and feel close to my mother's bosom.
Let me ask you something. Let me ask you something. Your dad Jamaica, you ever tried parish hop? Like you left your parish, your community, go to our next community.
Different vibration.
I see me going on. So
before people start accepting.
Yes, man. Don't just go in there and think it's all about you and you know what I mean. you have to walk soft and you know what I mean, until you get to establish your independence. You know what I mean? So I guess so if you go there and go on like, then that's what you're gonna get, because that's the energy you put out there. And then the energy you put out there at first sight, it's gonna come right back up at you, because that's what you give up. Because people gonna talk about this guy that was acting that and that was going to go on until you find out that.
Well, the feedback we were getting was that you know, people from the United States and other parts of the world, when they go to Africa, the natives there tend to treat them indifferently. Would overcharge them, and even make comments like, "Well, you're not an African. You know, you're a foreigner." But then one must always remember that there's ignorance wherever you go.
You can't make people define who you are. You have to make yourself know who you is. You have to know yourself. Do you know yourself?
Right.
So if you know yourself, you don't make people define who you is.
So when you go there, you don't. I would advise people not to go to, you know.
Some people are broadcast. Oh, go and start talking about where you come from, and I don't want to see you. No, you just take it easy. When the time comes for you define yourself, that's when you define yourself. Because you know, just go, then define yourself when you don't even call for. And you know, a lot of people, they are not diplomatic enough to establish that kind of persona.
Well, I'm on the point. Let's say something to kind of underscore what we're saying is that, you know, when Michael Manley started talking about democratic socialism, was a good idea. His whole heart was in it. He was passionate about it because he was genuinely caring for all of Jamaica, all Jamaicans. But it wasn't, again, it wasn't carefully thought out, because this radical revolutionary movement was too ultra sharp for the people, and it catch them like a deer in headlights.
Get blind, them get blind.
You know,
them turn pato.
And so when that happens, people become very vulnerable.
They turn pato.
And then other people, and they become fearful too, because they don't know what this is all about. They don't have the they don't have the education. They don't have the knowledge. They don't know the knowledge of what it's all about. So you hear Jamaican people hearing about democratic socialism. At that time, my grandmother never knew what democratic socialism is. You know?
Castro come take over.
Yeah, so when a man tells me Castro come take over, a man say, what? We don't want... Yeah, when a man now come and tell you, that's it mean, you know. If you have 2 houses, a man going to take one and give a next man one. And if you have 2 goats, a man going to take one and give a next man one. Because that... So those, you know...
You get your one goat.
Right. So when you're not aware of what's gonna, so when like just like when people leave here and go to Africa and they feel like, well, they're not being, you know, really given the princely welcome. They, you know, they feel like you know, you bust their bubble and they, you know, and whatever. But it's for us. The burden of proof is on us now to show them, say, yeah, man, well, you know, even though you might not be too receptive, but I'm going to show you why I come. Yeah, I'm going to show you why I'm here, you know. and explain to them and take the time out to be patient with them and teach them, and they, you know, because trust me.
You have to teach them how to accept you.
Yeah, man. Yes.
They gotta learn how to accept you.
You know, if they
you have to
can.
know when to hold, when to fall, and you have to give and take for goodness sake. You know what I mean? Eh? No piece of then boy, yes, you have this ego and about it's all about where you're coming from and where. No, you're giving people that sour crap. You know what I mean? And it's not good. And then again, you can see it in our people when how they behave. They behave the extravagant way where it's not needed. So
but check it now.
Don't put it where you don't need it.
Check it. I remember when we're in a yard at Jamaica there, you have some people who left and migrate and come and spend a couple of years, and when them come back, and some people can't even talk again, man. You know?
Strong then talk.
Strong.
Speak is spoken.
Speak is spoken. You know what I mean? And I mean, if you're speaking proper English, that's all right. But when you talk about speak is spoken, you can't understand what they're saying. And I mean, it's like me left Jamaica years now, and some of these guys are here, a DJ or whatever. I don't understand what they're saying. You know, so it's a two-way thing. Because people used to come back to Jamaica and you can't hear what I'm saying. You don't understand what they're saying. It's like me left Jamaica now and you have man a sing and a DJ and whatever, and a rapper or whatever, and I don't understand a word that he's saying. And when I tell people that I don't understand what they say, you know, they think I'm just making it up. I don't understand what they're saying.
You last on the street. You last on the street, not the lingua, them call it the lingua. You last on the lingua now, you get caught up in a rapture. Because them attack and you know what, you know. Have a clue what them say. But understand that. We'd have that when people did say about we when we'd have grown up to it. You know?
So don't feel too bad. We have to understand that even when you go back to the motherland, people see you as a form of competition, competing for resource, competing for approval.
Look for that. That don't happen.
You know, that's going to happen.
They won't cast up them eyes and turn up them nose like them and look for that tourist white man.
And there is some level of insecurity with them too, because they might feel, well, you're coming to take what
they have. So the tourist white man wiping his face met me in a Golden Grove marketplace. He look for me all clothes, brown with stain, and soak right through with the Portland rain. Him cast up him eyes, him turn up him nose. I hear him say, no? Hear him say, no? You're a beggar man, I suppose. So I said to him, by God, and his big right hand, you don't know what I'm saying? When you see one banana, man. So I tell the white man, because the white man just come off his ship, and see the man. You know, I read a poem about one of the great Jamaican writers, with one name. Who's Jamaican writer name? Anna Raja Mays.
What's his name?
Raja Mays. You read the same book, man. You read the same book, come here and get a story of the same book. Big. Where the boy named Mr. Spencer and Bulldog and the banana. That means you went through the part that out of the state man right about there. So I tell you, you know, people travel, you know, you do social studies. I mean, you find yourself now all different parts. But you ever find out yourself in a neighborhood when it's raining, when you feel die your yard. But you out there. One day, look at me in this rain and So what you gonna do? Where you gonna be? You know? You have to know how you navigate through that to make it be. You're gonna star your movie now. You get a chance to star a movie. What's the role gonna be? You have to go play a role. Because you have to go star your own movie now. Eh? In real life. Yes. Well, that's how some people is.
Audio. Yeah.
Navigate through your own thing. You know what I'm saying? You're right, because you outside when you should be taking care of what's going on
Yeah.
at home.
You suppose your vibe is where you're coming from. And you left that at that point now you're somewhere else.
Facts.
You have to know the flow you're gonna give to survive at this time, yeah. So that means there's no if you take the trip and go somewhere where you've never been before, you tell yourself, man has born anew.
Facts, respect too. 'Cause,
Man has born anew, cause you go to learn.
yup.
And if that's not what you think, then
Yeah.
you got it coming.
Yo,
Listen,
all I know is
wait. Before y'all guys say another word, people, if you're listening, who's stepping in the studio is the DJ. He's been away for a minute. He just got back into town, and he said he had to come to Skunk House without his laptop, but he had to come and take part in Skunk View.
Yes.
So that's the DJ, Trini Boy. He's back in New York.
yes, you're right. Respect
Continue, sir.
everybody.
Yeah, man,
man.
welcome.
Yes.
Yes.
I want to say I love the talk show, even though I was out of town, I was listening. I was in tune.
Yeah, man.
Make you have to come and see how you want to see how we do this.
I gotta hear
Well,
it.
that's it going on. When we get together, we have to get it popping. You know what I mean?
Facts.
Just like how people out there shopping, that's how we keep it popping.
The topic tonight was federation. I don't know if you're familiar with federation.
Federation. No, I'm not familiar with it.
Right, so that was, and then you're from Trinidad, right?
Yeah.
Right, so see, so we have a brother from Trinidad who is a part of us, and that's what we really need, to see each man as a brother and not as, just from another island, but as a brother.
Yeah.
And once we can get that together, then, we're good to go. We're really good to go.
I went out of town and did some
main thing.
homework. Like, not to cut you off, but I found out, like, the islands that we live in, we came from a bigger country. We're countries. We came from a bigger continent. So,
Originate from a continent.
yes, we
Where
originated.
you heard about. There's a land that I've heard about. So far away.
Facts.
Far across the sea. They
So-
call it Dreamland. Yeah.
Dreamland.
You ever heard that music?
No.
Asha Griffith.
No, I
You never heard that? Alright. Write it down.
Yeah, I got you. Don't worry. It's on
And
the,
then
in the
you go
memo.
listen that one. And when you play that one, play for Mama Africa.
Facts.
Yeah, man. And yes, you spin.
Yeah.
Well, so what's your name?
Well, my
No.
government is
No,
Mark.
I'm going to
but
call you a name.
call me a name.
Global Impact.
Global Impact. I like it.
Okay. Say no more. Say no more. All right. Say no more. We take it from there.
I
Okay?
take it.
We take it from there to our next level.
Facts. I ain't mad at
So
that.
you say first you come out of your mouth,
Yeah.
Global Impact.
Yeah, I like that.
No, it means something.
Yeah, me.
Are you
so-
aware of the meaning?
Yes.
So we are talking about
Yeah, 'cause-
you see we are talking about federation.
Yeah.
And some global impact we are talking about.
All right.
Where a lot of people ain't never seen, they heard about it.
Yeah, they heard
And then
about
you
it.
come back now, we are write a script now, I tell you about it. Me now, I introduce myself to you as
All right.
a participant.
Of the
Ah,
global impact.
yes.
yes, I
You know,
respect
see,
it.
Him our next part of the black.
You ready?
Yeah, man.
The whole awareness of the global impact. Visiting skunk house.
Come on, we all have a part to, we all have a part to play, you know?
Yeah.
Yeah.
So this is the
As a
group,
chain is
global
as strong
impact.
as
I
its
like that, I
weakest
like
link,
that.
you
Yeah.
know?
I love that.
You know, see, so you play certain music, global impact music.
Yeah.
And the music where you play, it have the message and it speak for now.
Yeah.
So you carry that vibe, and that the vibe that you are carrying.
Yeah.
So Trini Boy, no, global impact.
I like that.
And the new thing.
Alright, I'm gonna mention that.
Yeah,
too.
man. No,
I'll
man.
Big up that.
Fingers and thumb keep. Fingers and thumb keep moving.
Alright.
Take up a record.
Well,
put
we
it
gonna
down.
promote that. We
Yeah, man.
promoting that.
Fingers and thumb. You're the panic.
So hold on. So what you're saying, Mr. Sadie, is that
Yeah.
you're changing his name from Trini Boy to Global.
Global impact.
You hear that, Trini Boy? No more Trini Boy. Global impact. Yeah, man. We know. We got like 10 minutes to be out. And then, up after that is ATO artist take over. So, just go and stay tuned, just go and log in. So, Trini Boy, your name will change now. Oh, we have to stop. Global impact.
GB. G.I. Joe.
G.I.
G.I. Joe.
G.I. Joe, Global Impact. G.I. Joe.
No, you find you hear something where you can't pick the sense out there. I know now you have to go do the fingers and the thumb. Have to go work now to make it happen. The magic can go happen now, Yes, man. Just go in on your box, man. Go in on your
Global Impact
You
is
just
in
draw
the
them out
studio.
there. Anytime you play, you're going to find out, say no.
You know, I want to cut you, but Sadie,
Yeah.
I was watching a dancer clash in 2020 with a youth from his sound is Dynamic Sound. He had a clash with Black Jack Scorpio. Man, you want to see that? It was a clash. I think Muta Baruka was at Rebel Salute.
Yes, I think I see that,
And honestly, believe me, the man killed Black Scorpio, man.
I saw that.
Tear him apart.
Not even that. It wasn't. It was the African. It was the African. There's an African guy
You ready to work?
that
You ready
plays
to
sound
work?
system, and he's the one that killed Black Scorpion. You understand me? He was the one that killed Black Scorpion at
Yeah.
Rebel Salute in Jamaica.
Easy enough, but you have to know
You
that.
understand
And
me?
truth where I do.
And last
And
year
do
when
it.
I went, God
Me-
is
me
so
know
good
it's
that
sound
when I
and
was at
sound
the
you mean.
airport, I met the sound
When
man.
the deaf are the see, they ever say yes. Go
You understand me? I met the sound man out of nowhere. Not the African. The man who them send
Yeah. You see,
for
you see,
in
you
a
see the
Europe
magic
from
of the
kill the
world.
African.
You see the magic of the movie.
Yeah.
The man who them send from in a Europe
Yeah.
coming at Jamaica to come kill the African. I meet him at in a Montego Bay at the airport just by chance.
Well, trust me, I tell you, I first said I show them, and a big respect to the youth there because I tell the man, draw some tune pan. It was Jack Scorpio and his son, and it was the youth alone. And the
Them
man,
practice, them rehearse.
Sure, the problem.
The
was-
man rehearse to do the show.
No. Black Scorpio, you know, remember the tune them a get old, right? But he was playing first. You understand me? And then now his son must brave up and say, yo, he want to take over. You understand me? And you see when him do that, the African just kill him.
no, him draw one tune, I think it was Eric Donaldson. I think him draw either Eric Donaldson or
I ask you.
are one of them old-time group, the man.
Right.
The man draw tune. You see when him draw the tune, the all, I said, who?
I ask you. If you don't run off your mouth.
But you got to hear the man tell him, say, no, even though it's a wicked tune, you know, but you don't know how to play the tune.
I'm asking you
understand me?
something.
And draw, the African now draw a wicked one.
I'm asking you something. Was this Scorpio DJ? Was he running off his mouth? Was he shooting off his mouth at the other man? Yes or no?
Listen to me. It was father, son.
I heard that, but that's not the question I asked you. I asked you, stop. You know what that is. I know what that is.
We got like 6 minutes. All right, keep talking.
I know what that is. What I asking you, which one of them was shooting off his mouth? That's
Come
what.
on, the man them just do them thing, man.
Them a do them
The man them just do them thing.
Okay.
Listen to me. Listen.
Okay. Go ahead. That's what they're doing. But you got some.
No. I understand what you said. I understand what you said. The African was talking film like a thing. You know what I say? Black Scorpio would come up and say film like a thing. You understand me? But when Black Scorpio mess up now, if Black Scorpio wasn't really winning, I now remember the tune then.
Him not play a tune, I don't remember tune. I play a tune. You don't remember no tune. Play a tune.
Right.
The tune where you play at that.
Alright, what? 5 minutes, and then we're out.
Don't come
5
tell
minutes.
boy you don't remember nothing. Play, that's what you're doing. Playing. Kill that sound boy.
Right.
You don't go to play a cat
No.
house.
And that we want to talk about. We just want to, what really reach me,
Right.
is to see the kind of music that they were playing.
Okay.
And to see all the music that make headways.
Now
Right.
make no impact at the dance.
The music making headways that a man from, I think, where is he from? Uganda?
Yes.
Or Sudan?
He's definitely from Africa.
And as a matter of fact, he said when he was in a refugee camp.
Okay.
And I saw him start to listen to, as a matter of fact, him said the tune will really impact him most with that tune. He said, Zungu Zungu, Yellow Man.
Okay.
They might come from that. From them time they might come.
You know?
That are in the early 80s.
4 minutes, guys. 4 minutes, and then we're out.
All of the big gay ready for it. So no. You see this boy name, you see this boy when me just come out 1986. He's a boy from England and them call him David Radigan. I remember the first time that white boy coming to the roller skating room.
3 minutes, and then we are out.
And he did his dirt, man. He dirtied the place up. He used, I don't remember how he saw them in that place, but he used them, he mopped the floor with them, man. He
I want
mopped the
him to know
floor
that
with them.
him kill Black Scorpio real bad.
Yeah. So now,
We got like 3 more minutes. If y'all guys want to talk in, I won't play no music, and then we just sign off. You know what I mean? We got 3 minutes.
No, man, we're good. We're good. No, man, I said, come on. Yeah.
so you know, the old lady of the wild and guy here who I got. And you see why your boss comes to see them. Live and direct.
lockdown, road